Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Cripescast. I'm your host, Charlie Behrens. This is the podcast where we talk to people for and or from the Midwest, and we are powered by Everlight Solar. Hey, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Cripescast. Today, my guest is comedian Matteo Lane. He has been named one of Variety's top 10 comics to watch. You may have seen his stand-up special, Hair Plugs and Heartache. He's been on Netflix's Stand Out as well as the comedy lineup. He is from Illinois, but let's not hold that against him. Okay, he's coming on to chit chat, and he is coming to Milwaukee on October 10th at the Pabst Theater. So if you're in Milwaukee, make sure you check him out. Before we get to my interview with him, I just want to let you guys know that I am on the road. I will be in Ohio, Pennsylvania, the East Coast, Boston this week, and all over. You can get your tickets, charliebehrens.com. And also, folks, we are raising money for Doctors Without Borders, continuing to do that. You can check out the link in the show notes or follow them at Doctors Without Borders just at Doctors Without Borders anywhere on social media. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, here's my conversation with comedian Matteo Lane.
Great meeting you. I was going to say I'm traveling too, so I kind of did this a little bit, but we'll just see this sunspot just slowly move throughout the deal. So that'll be nice for consistency, you know?
Well, if you want New York traffic just sort of blaring into your... If it gets too loud, let me know. I can close my windows and turn my air on. But it's the first nice day in New York, so I have my windows open.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I can't hear anything like that. Has it been hot there? What do you mean? I haven't been paying attention to New York weather. Sweltering, swampy.
Yeah, New York. It's just September hits, and then it's like we pay all this money for this rent for 3 weeks out of the year for it to be crisp, nice days, and you're not sweating and everyone's happy. And then it turns into winter.
Yeah. There's always just sort of the slush effect. I just feel like every time in New York, I've got my suitcase because I'm usually bouncing from one person's place to the other. And then you're just dragging, you've got that salt stain, on the suitcase. That's what I always remember with New York.
Yeah, but it's not like that. Where do you live? Wisconsin?
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in Chicago. It's the same thing, right? You get the salt, your boots ruin salt stains, pants ruin salt stain. Why is look at it, gives a thumbs up. That's weird.
That is kind of weird. It's like the robots, dude. They are watching, and it's a terrifying thing. No, you're absolutely right.
Wait, did we start the podcast?
I don't know. It kind of starts whenever it feels right.
All right.
Do you have any questions leading in?
No.
I figured you didn't. So I was just trying to be economical with your time. No, but for me, it was just that on a suitcase because I usually wouldn't have a suitcase, but it'd be just dragging that thing through town. This is when I was first going out there trying to sort of make it or whatever. But I would just have this salt line on my suitcase, and that would be from New York,
Yeah, I think about now, when I grew up in Chicago. Well, I grew up in Arlington Heights and then moved to Chicago when I was 18, but still the back of your pants become hard from the amount of salt that's sort of stuck to it.
Yeah.
And I guess we didn't care about our pants back then because I just was this is the look. It just was it.
Yeah. I mean, and then the sort of damp, just you'd be in class with that. I went to UW-Madison, so I would do a thing where I'd bike to class too. So you kind of there are these little things you could kind of use to squeeze your pants in so you didn't get chain whatever on them. And then we had baggier pants. How old are you? You're about my age, right?
I'm 38.
Yeah, I'm 37. And not to brag or anything, but
you do have a Wisconsin accent. I mean, I have a Chicago accent, but you're just you're in between me and the mother from Bobby's World.
Oh, really? That she's pretty far in too. I feel like she's very Minnesota, which would make sense. Chicago, Milwaukee, Bemidji kind of a thing.
Not to cut you off, but it's I forget the Midwest accents because I'm so used to New York accents now.
Yeah.
I forget about that. Oh gosh.
I I think being in Midwest, and especially having this brand that's very Midwest, it's allowed me to really indulge in something that I was trying to get rid of for a while. So
Why?
because I was in the news business, so you
Yeah, they
try
kind
to
of
hide
blocked
it.
out of you.
Yeah. Do you miss Chicago?
No, I miss my family. And there's times I miss like, I mean, the thing for me is like I'm happy where I'm working and I'm working in New York. You know, I can do stand up every night at the Cellar. Like
Yeah.
I'm happy where I work. I love the look of New York. I love the urban design of New York. I like the density. I like the consistently being, having people around you. I like that. I mean, I think people think of New York, they think of like Times Square, Hell's Kitchen, where it's like chaos. I live in the Village, so it's a little more neighborhoody. I'm not surrounded by skyscrapers, but yeah, I miss parts of Chicago. Like I miss my friends. I miss my family. I miss all 31 of my cousins. I miss my mom. I miss my niece. I miss my nephews. It's like, yeah, that kind of stuff. But I
Yeah.
did it too. I lived there.
Yeah. When did you say you moved out?
25, I left Chicago. I moved to New York.
So were you doing is that sort of where you started stand up, was in the Chicago scene?
Yeah, the first show that I ever did was I think 2009. I've been doing it 16 years now. It was at Marty DeRosa's show in Old Town. No, what is it? Where is Zany's again in Chicago? Zany's
It's Old
is,
Town.
where is it?
I think it's Old Town, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Am I thinking wrong? Like North and Lafayette. Lafayette, is that the street? LaSalle and North. Like, is that?
That sounds right, because you weren't doing the one in Rosemont. You were doing the one Chicago proper, right?
It was there. It was there. So let's just say,
Yeah.
for the sake of this,
Okay.
Chicagoans. So like North Wells Street. No, it's not the neighborhood though. I'll call my friend Sophia. But I did it there, and it was like I got 3 minutes to do my act, and Marty was nice enough to put me on. He was dating my friend, so that's why he did it. And then I had like 31 of my like literally my grandparents came, my cousins came, everybody came. And so I've been doing it since then. And then I really got into it, I would say around 2010 and then 2011. And then I got a job. I was illustrating for a living, and I got a full-time job in New York. So I moved to New York in like a month and just kept doing open mics in New York. So Chicago was a great like base. Like I really learned everything I needed to know, like how to develop my voice and how to do open mics and how to write jokes and how to like, mingle and how to like, there's like a business side to it. So Chicago was like the perfect place to sort of start.
Do you think like Chicago has like a comedic vibe to it or something, where like
Yes.
all these what like are distinctions for a Chicago comic, would you say?
I feel I can always recognize a Chicago comic, but it's not that they're theatrical. How do I like put this? Like you can always tell a Chicago comic. They're different than New York comics. New York comics, if you're from New York, I'm generalizing here, but you tend to be a little like more straightforward, one-linery, joke. And that's because your open mics are 2 minutes long. So you got to get to that joke quick. I'm talking about like open micers before you really develop your voice. You can see Chicago comics because maybe you get 3 or 4 minutes on stage, and Chicago has that, improv influence in Chicago. The great thing about Chicago is that there's no industry. So you just kind of are on stage experimenting every night. So I remember people like Candy Lawrence, who was like, she's phenomenal. And she would scream and yell and, go back to jokes and then do like, it was just like so out of the box, or like the Putterboss sisters or Beth Stelling or, Cameron Esposito or Lisa Traeger and all these people, Marty DeRosa, like Danny Callis at the time too. Like there was just something about a Chicago comic. It kind of had like the stamp of Chicago to it. It's almost like a flavor than it is like specific. It's hard to describe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And that like time on stage really, really, I think does it. Cause especially, in the Midwest, I feel like it's a bit slower pace, maybe not to the extent that you like exaggerate it comedically speaking, but the audience is also, I think, like a little bit nicer, maybe, at least at first sniff, at least your open mic audience, maybe they'll pretend to listen as opposed to just being on their phone,
Well, because open micers in bigger cities, open micers are just other comics. So in Chicago, what was really similar to New York, Chicago and New York have so many similarities. Is like, I mean, I know people in DC who would do open mics for like 5 audience members, like people who went to go see open mics. I mean, that was unheard of in Chicago. You just did open mics for other comics, and New York was like that too. And you do 2 or 3 mics a night, which New York was like that too. So the jump to New York, I think that's the benefit for Chicago comics. We come in hot, we come in strong, and it's sort of like being like speaking Italian and then going to Spain. It's like, I'll learn how to learn this language. I'll learn it quick.
Yeah.
Oh, and where everyone else is like coming from Mandarin, Russian, Tagalog, it's like they have a harder time adapting, where Chicagoans are like, got it.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. You also speak a lot of, I want to talk more about the comedy, but while you brought up the languages, you speak a lot of languages I'm getting from like your stand-up and everything. What was your English first language?
Yeah.
And then
English first language. I learned Italian probably around like 14, because we have friends and family friends in Italy, and I really enjoyed the Italian part of my culture. And so I would just go back to Sicily, and you just have to learn it there because no one speaks English.
Yeah.
So you just kind of come back like, buongiorno, mamma. And then I learned Spanish. I feel like it's like a tapestry, like a slowly weaving in, just like years of kind of building up. But knowing Italian makes it so much easier to like speak Spanish, and then French eventually. But like my French and Spanish are, I would say, proficient, where my Italian is fluent.
Yeah. Okay. I like in your stand-up how you weave that in, and you weave like the singing in and all that sort of stuff. I just feel like you have so many tools as a comic that it's almost like you throw it in there, and it's like skills you don't even talk about. You know what I mean? I got skills I don't talk about. That's what it seems like.
Well, that makes it sound sexual. Yeah, I try. I'm closing the windows because, of course, there hasn't been construction all day, but oh my God, I can't think how not strong I am. Oh, I hate that sound. Yeah, but
you got to put some WD-40 on your window seals there.
That would require a straight person to be within these walls. I just have to find someone straight. Yeah, but I think the sort of like back and forth with like voices, and to me, it just is sort of like a natural way of speaking, I guess. That sounds so lame, but that's how my whole family talks. If they're telling stories, like the voices are kind of just included. And so I've always just kind of talked that way. And then people will be like, oh, I like when you do voices on stage. And in my head, I'm like, voices? But then I think of voices as like the 80s, where like Jim Carrey is like, you guys want to see an impression? They turn around, they come back, and they're the impression. So yeah, I would say, unbeknownst to me, a lot of people comment on that, like the voices kind of weave in and out, which really makes me look like I have multiple personality disorder. But
I mean, it definitely is an asset for comedy, having multiple personalities. But you feel like that whole thing was sort of your family is kind of what developed your comedy. Like, did you grow up wanting to do comedy, or did you just realize you're funny over time?
Well, I like as a gay person. Well, one, I come from a very funny family. I mean, my mother and her brothers and sisters had a very traumatic childhood, and I think they chose humor as a way to deal with it. So everyone's very, very funny, and not funny like put something on their head, and like they're very witty. And so when you eat, I grew up next to my cousins, and we grew up like brothers and sisters, and we're all the same age. So when you sit at a dinner table and there's 12 of you, you have to keep up. So you learn your skills pretty young. But unbeknownst to you, I mean, even today, if I watch my Aunt Cindy, she's telling a story. She has no idea that she's creating a story. She's bringing in premises. There's punchlines. She's using voices. She's got like a whole arc. Like it just flows out of her naturally, which I do think is a very big characteristic of Italians in general. Like Italians, even if you go to Italy, everything is kind of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say, what was the other question you asked me?
Just kind of is that where you got the passion for comedy? Like, was there a thing where you're like, I want to be a comedian, or was it this thing where it happened through your family naturally?
Well, I think it kind of just, I fell into it because I always say this. I know I did not have access to, I didn't see a gay man do stand-up comedy till I was 23. So I didn't know it was available to me. My assumption, along with sports and a lot of other really male dominated things, was like it was for men or very specific women. So I didn't fall in love with stand up until I started listening to Kathy Griffin when I was like 16, because she was the first person I remember in my life speak positively about gay people while still making fun of us. Like, she was on the inside. And I remember my homophobia was so internalized, I thought to myself, she shouldn't talk about gay people. That'll ruin her career. So you have to remember, like, where we were as a society, where I was, where a lot of gay people were, but all that to say is, like, I didn't know it was available to me. So the first gay person I ever saw stand-up comedy ever was at an open mic. His name was Bill Cruz. He's a very funny comic. He's a Chicago comic. That was the first person ever. And then it like clicked with me. I'm like, oh, like, gay people can do stand up with straight people, or gay people can do stand up. It doesn't have to be a one man show. It doesn't have to be about our trauma. It doesn't have to be Rent. It doesn't have to be musical involved. It doesn't have to be characters. It doesn't have to be improv. It can be stand up. So I was unaware of it. Now, obviously, there were like Jim David and Rick Chrome and Mario Cantone, and there's a lot of comics who were doing it in the '80s, closeted for a long time. Mario Cantone, not so much, but Mario Cantone, I would say, was like is like the pioneer of doing gay comedy at a time it wasn't acceptable. But you just have to remember, we didn't have YouTube. Whatever was on TV was the only thing available to me. So those things were not available to me. So I think a lot of other gay people of my time, we didn't see it. So
yeah, I mean, I think we easily forget, what year was it? Maybe like 2011 or something, when Joe Biden was, I think, just off the cuff being like, yeah, I think gay marriage should be legalized. And then at that time, Obama wasn't even publicly for it. And then, it's just crazy to think it wasn't that long ago. And this is kind of the time when you're like starting to get into comedy. Were your first bits
yes.
about
yes.
being gay? Yeah.
Yes. I knew you were going to ask that, because it was like, I love people who were like, did you hide it? I'm like, how could I hide it? Listen to my voice. There's no way I could hide it. Can you imagine me going on stage? My girlfriend is the worst. There was no world. I was also, let me just say this, was lucky to come up at a time where being gay, I think if I had done it 10 years earlier, I wouldn't have had the same results. And I think if I had done it 10 years later, it would have been, the resistance would have been way different. So I was at this time where it was just acceptable, and I was never judged for it. And the people that were the most supportive of me, which were straight men. Comics, I found straight men and women, and obviously gays, but like, you're surrounded predominantly by straight men. And you would be surprised how comedians don't care about you at all. They don't care where you come from. All they care is, do you have good jokes? Do you have a good work ethic? Do you actually care about this? They just want to see you care about it as much as they do. And that was sort of my insight to comedy. I think it's easy. Like, there are times, obviously, where people are against you just for being gay, but I would say I've had a really positive experience. I think it's easy to be defensive and assume the worst. People are going to hate me because of X, Y, and Z, but I really put myself out there and was welcomed with open arms. And I have some of my best memories are my open mic days and bar show days. They're just the best.
Yeah. When you think about those, do you kind of see them now? like with sort of rose-colored glasses, like were you at that time, was this sort of the thing you wanted to do when you had to make it and you had that pressure of it? Or, I mean, at the time you had another job working in a great industry. So
Right.
did that kind of help you early on, not put too much pressure on it?
No, there was always pressure. I look back at it now and I look at it for what it was. It was an exciting time. I figured out what I wanted to do in life. I was surrounded by like-minded people. I was surrounded by a community, and I still am surrounded by a community that doesn't judge you for being weird, thinking weird, saying things weird. I think I never quite had a community that I felt fully accepted by until I was with comedians. And to this day, my favorite thing to do is sit at the cellar table and sit and bitch and moan with Keith Robinson. And, it just, I don't know, but I would say like my open mic days, I was very driven and I loved every minute of it. Just the process of feeling yourself get better, the process of seeing people react to you, the kind of the window got less narrow and the world seemed more open to you, and traveling with my friend Evan Williams to every single open mic. And at that point, your only currency is just the respect of other comics. So if I'm in a room and I make Dan Soder laugh, that's enough to get me going for the next 3 weeks,
Yeah.
And I love it. I am one of those people. A lot of comedians, 99% of the people I started with, they drop off or they realize, oh, you know what? I'm a writer, or I'm a producer, or I'm a host, or I'm a book writer, or I'm an actor, and I find more and more. I've been doing this 16 years now. I am a stand-up comic. I respect this first. I'm not doing this to get something else. I'm doing everything else to keep doing this. I did 50 shows at the Comedy Cellar in July. I had the month off and I needed to write new material, and I did as many spots as I could. I love it. I love the traveling. I love the shows. I love the art form. I love the creating new jokes, the back and forth, the dialogue with comics. I love it. I really, really love it.
That's cool. And you see that you mentioned work ethic too. Do you feel like there's a certain work ethic in maybe Midwest comics or New York comics? Can you tell like a difference culturally or regionally with respect to the work ethic?
Well, I think New York serves itself more for people who, New York is way more cutthroat. No question. New York, it has that stereotype, obviously, for years of being like, it'll chew you up and spit you out. It will, because New York is a city that doesn't care about you. So you just have to kind of figure out your way through it. It will never care about you. If you leave, it's not crying. If you stay, it's not celebrating. It doesn't care. Chicago is a city that cares about you. And so it's a little different. But I would say I came up with the training of fine arts and opera singing, and I kind of had an understanding of the amount of work I'd have to put in to get the results. So my approach towards stand-up is a little more systematical, I think, systematic than maybe other people's approach, but everyone has a different approach. Like, me and Lisa Traeger started at the same time. She's one of the funniest comics I've ever met. Her and I have wildly different approaches towards stand-up comedy, and the results are the same. You know what I'm saying? She's a huge success. I just saw her film her Netflix special. She's amazing. She's way funnier than I am. So it's like, obviously my approach works for me, but my approach was way more in line with like opera training. Like, okay, when I was doing open mics, I wasn't going out. I wasn't dancing. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't doing drugs. I wasn't doing Fire Island. I wasn't doing P-Town. I wasn't doing none of it. It was Monday to Monday stand-up. That's it. I only hung out with stand-ups. I would do open mics. I'd work on one joke per week, flesh it out till I got to the creek on Friday, and then sort of debut that joke on Friday. If you get called in the first group, that you're doing better, and then you do the same process next week and bar shows and build your material. So I kind of look at it more that way than other people.
Yeah. And
not to say that Lisa's lazy, by the way. I'm just saying that her and I approach it very differently, and I think she would agree to that.
And do you still do it that way? No, like when you were coming up, social media wasn't as big of a deal, but now, in order to do stand up, really, you got to have that social media following to do your own shows, headline your own shows, do you find yourself sort of splitting your time in ways you wish you weren't, or do you find it to be all like sort of a self-serving thing, and you find the joy in doing the clips, the podcasts, all that sort of stuff in the same way that you do stand-up?
Well, it's a couple things. I think one big mistake younger comics 5 years and younger are doing is they're putting their clips up online. And I know I sound like an old fart saying that, but the reason I can put stand up online is because I have 16 years worth of stand up to put online. I remember what happened is this is 2021, April 2021, and I was struggling. I couldn't sell tickets. I had no money. We were just coming out of the pandemic, and Schultz and Sam Morrell started putting all their jokes up online. So I was going to do the Miami Improv, and I only sold 21 tickets for a Thursday. So they canceled the show. So I called Schultz and I said, because me and Andrew are from the same graduating class of comics, and he is a very smart business person. So I called him and said, I never ask for help and I don't know what to do. And he talked to me for, I think, 2.5 hours. And was like, take the hour that you did for Netflix that they didn't, because Netflix didn't want my hour. Take the hour that they don't want, cut it up, caption it, put it out, do it once. But he told me, he's one of those people where I'm one of those people, you reach out a hand, I reach back. I've wasted so much breath on comics asking for help. I sit there for hours and tell them what I think. They don't change a goddamn thing. For me, it's, even though it's under my nose, if you tell me what to do, I'll do it. I'm a good worker. So I did exactly what Andrew told me to do. And it was like, the next year I was doing the Beacon Theater. So, by that point I had my old hour and I was already working on my new hour. So I could work on my new hour and perform a different hour on the road for people while still displaying my old hour for people to see. And as of late, what I do is twice a year I go at the Cellar and do a crowd work show twice.
I love those. Yeah.
And I don't do any crowd work when you see me live. I just do it twice a year just because, one, I have the audience ask me a question. So it's more bit oriented. I'm not sort of accosting somebody in the front row.
Yeah.
So it can be more bit oriented. And then I can use those clips with my podcast to kind of hold me over till I can present my next hour. So I found a system that works for me.
Definitely. Yeah. And those advice shows are super funny. And the views on them are, speak for themselves. They're like, I think the one I saw was like 45 minutes or something. Do you film for the full 45, or are you sort of cutting the best hitters in that?
Cut. We do, I would say we film for an hour, and then I don't think people have patience to sit there for even 40. I think they're both like 40 minutes or 37 minutes. Like, it's enough of me.
Yeah.
Like, you got it. I'm not a precious comedian or an artist. I'm very much about edit, cut, get out. Like, let's just get to the point of it. So yeah, I keep it around 35, 37 minutes each, but we film for an hour and then you just take out 20, because sometimes people do ask boring questions. The good questions are people who say, this one girl was like, I broke up with this guy on ChatGPT.
Yeah.
He said, read the letter. So she had to open up. They lock your phones away at the cell. She should rip it open, read what she wrote. That's great, because I have so much to work off of. Then you get some girl who's like, my boyfriend, he's kind of boring. Okay, well, I can't do anything with that. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. Like, this isn't fun. But I'm not a crowd work comic, even though I think people might position me as a comic who can do crowd work. But people who are really masters at crowd work are like Jessica Kirson. Like, she's a master at crowd work. But I do it because it's fun and it's a skill that I've built up for 16 years, and I do it just a couple times a year, just to sort of something different. And then I'll put my material back out too.
Yeah, but you don't like doing that in sort of the paid shows while you're on the road, all that. You come for I have a crafted, worked on show. Mm-hmm. I do crowd work, and because they're theaters, I don't know how Matt Rife does it. I can't imagine crowd work in a theater. That requires its own special talent. Like, he's doing crowd work for 8,000 people. My brain can't compute. Right.
So I do just my material. And I'm every single week I'm at the cellar every night working on material. So when you come see me on the road, I want people to feel like they're getting a really good show.
Folks, excuse the interruption, but I just want to let you know we are powered and presented by Everlight Solar. For those who don't know, here at Cripes HQ, we are powered by not only great ideas and fun, but by the sun. You guys see that? See that rhyme there? Heck yeah. Mostly the sun, I'll say. We've had solar panels on the roof for a few years now. Let me tell you, it's not a bad thing to do. It's great knowing that, you're doing something nice for the environment. That'll get you out of purgatory. But on top of that, it's good for your pocketbook too. So check it out, everlightsolar.com for a free consultation. And when you call them up, tell them I says hi. And also, I want to let you know, Fleet Farm. They got the best prices guaranteed on all your everyday pet essentials. Whether you're a dog or a cat owner, it doesn't matter. They've got it all. For all the dog owners, they've got the best brands like Purina, Science Diet, Blue Buffalo, for foods and treats that your dog will love. For the feline friends, you're going to find everything from food and litter to toys and treats, and keep them purring and making biscuits all day long. No matter what you need for your four-legged friend, Fleet Farm has you covered at the best prices guaranteed. And finally, folks, aside from listening to the podcast, if you want to support us, there's a couple great ways. One, I'm going to be on the road. I said it at the top of the show, but I'm going to be in Boston this weekend, New Hampshire. And then we got an Ohio run, La Crosse, Wisconsin. We're all around Pennsylvania and even down south. So come check me out. If you are in any of those cities, tickets at cripescast.com. Just click on the tour section. And again, this tour isn't a live Cripescast. It's stand-up comedy. So for some of you don't know that's the thing I do. So there you have it. And then also check out Patreon, patreon.com/Charlie Behrens for extended cuts, deleted scenes, the whole deal. You get bonus sketches. You even get, first look at tickets. So check it out. Oh, and we have some giveaways there too. So check it out. Patreon.com/Charlie Behrens. And of course, all your Midwest merch. It is hoodie season now. So if you want to get those hoodies, get cribbage boards, get playing cards, Midwest t-shirts, koozies, whatever it is. You got Christmas coming up as well. So it's a good time to get all that sort of stuff. Go to cripescast.com, click on the merch section. And yeah, there you have it, folks. All right. We'll just get back to the interview now. Thanks for listening to the ads. Okay. Bye-bye.
We've got this segment on this podcast, which is what makes you say cripes. Growing up in Chicago, did you have family members that, would prefer not to take the Lord's name in vain, but just say, cripes?
You're not Italian, are you?
No.
Yeah. No.
That's not Italians. Just go for the full JC. Yep. My grandpa Bob was, my grandma Sue was kind of on him about his language, and we were out fishing this one time and got this big muskie, and he was trying to change Christ to cripes. And he was trying to say cripes almighty, but he said, Christ all Friday. He changed the wrong word, which I thought was hilarious. But that's kind of the basis for this podcast, was just that word. But basically, what makes you say cripes is like, what's your biggest pet peeve? What's pissing you off these days? You got anything off the top of the dome?
People that are older than 12 and still chew with their mouths open. Like, where are you from? I just don't understand, how you got this far. I don't understand. No one in your life has stopped you. I don't understand people who are fine with people. Like, you see an old married couple. Well, he chews with his mouth open. Bitch, you have got to work on, you have got to threaten him, give him an ultimatum. There's nothing to me more cringeworthy. I hate the sound. I think you're an idiot. If you eat with your mouth open, your IQ has dropped. I don't care what you've done. Your IQ has just dropped to zero. You look like a fool. You're disgusting. It's just get it together. That is my biggest pet peeve.
There is a miraculous number of people that do that too, with the absolute worst food. And I feel like Italian food might be some of the worst food you can eat with your mouth open. Like if you get some sort of Alfredo situation with the white, anything white and creamy, you don't
Right.
really want to, because then it like does the thing, you know.
Right.
Ranch is another one. Like what do you call it? Like one of them. Why can't you think of it? What's the salad that you shake with all the ranch and it's just lettuce and ranch?
The Caesar salad?
Yeah, Caesar salad. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's Caesar, right?
No, Caesar's, it is creamy. Is it like anchovies something? I don't know. When I eat salads, I'm so a Cobb salad, they're saying.
Could be a Cobb, whatever has the ranch on it and a bunch
That's
of
really
other stuff.
controversial. I don't like ranch.
Well, that is fairly controversial, and this is where this podcast ends, actually. You're not a fan of ranch? You prefer like what, blue cheese or what?
No, if I eat a salad, oh my God, it sounds so annoying. If I eat a salad, I want like a little olive oil and lemon squeezed on it, maybe some salt and pepper. That's it. Like on a fresh, like a house salad or something.
That's very Italian of you. It's very Mediterranean kind of.
It sounds so boring. Blue cheese bothers me. I don't get it. Ranch is, I don't know. I can't, I haven't found my friendship with ranch yet.
Do you not like the taste of it, or do you not like the texture of it?
I don't mind the texture. I'm not in love with the taste. Like sometimes I want to eat the thing and taste the thing, and then you put ranch on it, and then I'm just tasting textured ranch, if that makes sense.
All right. Well, yeah, I get that. What do you do if you do wings, though?
Wings are just by themselves. I don't know.
You're doing dry wings?
No, they have sauce at the cellar. They got sauce on their wings, and it's good. But I wouldn't put ranch on it. They have a really good sauce, like a hot sauce. I don't know what the sauce, like a wing sauce on it. I like that. But then you dip it in the ranch, and the ranch is colder than the rest of it. Now we're ruined the temperature.
No, that's fire and ice, dude. You want that?
No, that's fire. What is this? Game of Thrones? I can't. I'm like it's too much. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big ranch person.
All right. Well, I think you can. I was going to say if you do crowd work, you don't in your shows, but you got your show coming up in Milwaukee, right?
I do.
Have you played Milwaukee before?
I did. I played Milwaukee a year and a half ago. I forget the venue. It was almost like a music venue. It was really cool.
Turner Hall?
Yeah, maybe that's it. Or where am I performing this time in Milwaukee?
You're at the Paps this time.
Oh, that's more. Yeah. I think it was Turner Hall. It was great. The audience was great. And I found a really good coffee shop nearby, and I would have I got there a day earlier, so I would get coffee there, and I really enjoyed it. They were nice. I mean, people in Wisconsin are so nice, even if they can smell that I'm from Illinois.
Well, yeah, they can definitely sniff that out. It's the hair is very nice and the beard is very well trimmed, and I'm gonna suss out Bears fan right at that point. Turner Hall's a cool spot. Actually, my brother, they were renovating Turner Hall. And they took out all the floorboards and they put them in the dumpster. My brother and his buddy went out to the dumpster and got some good floorboards because you can do some stuff with those. So I made this guitar holder on my wall out of the floorboards from Turner Hall. That was actually my first show. Yeah,
I love that. That's awesome.
It was sweet. So you never know what you find in a dumpster is basically the bottom line on that. So as a Chicagoan, what were your first impressions of people from Wisconsin?
Well, come on now. We would go to the Wisconsin Dells. We would go to Eagle River. We would go to Door County. It's like everyone in Chicago is like, we're leaving Chicago. We're going to the Wisconsin Dells. And everyone just from Chicago is in the Wisconsin Dells. Door County, to me, I remember going as a kid because my mom and dad liked Door County. And in my impression, I have nothing to base this off of, but it just seemed like a perfect place for lesbians. Like Door County just seemed perfect for like a lesbian couple. Like there seemed to be like lighthouses, maybe some like shell art. But my favorite place to go was Eagle River. When I was a kid, me and my cousins, and by the way, every vacation I did as a child was with all of my cousins. We would go to Eagle River, and Eagle River was like the best. I mean, it was like a 6-hour drive, which I don't know how all like 20 of us did it in these 2 vans. It was a nightmare. But it was the most fun. Like they had like a lake. We were in a cabin. You go fishing, crawfish hunting. You
Oh
see
yeah.
deer and stuff. Yeah. So my memories of Wisconsin were always like some kind of vacation in the summertime, and I guess cheese.
Yeah, a lot of cheese fudge shops, cheese fudge adult toys. You
What
know,
is with the fudge shops, by the way? Every small town I go to, there's just a shop with fudge. I'm like, no one wants fudge.
in Eagle River, especially. Okay, so you got like for people who haven't been there, there's this window, and you watch people make fudge. Right, that's what you're talking about in downtown Eagle River. We used to
Yeah.
go. Yeah, we used to go to this same area you went to. Yeah, I don't know. It's very random. And in Wisconsin, there's a lot of towns where they have a designated fudge shop. I don't get it, but you know why? Everybody, like for someone who watches your house while you're gone or whatever, you want to get them a gift. You get them some fudge. You get them a brick.
You have
of
one
fudge.
bite of the fudge, it's over. Like, just give me a
Oh,
chocolate chip cookie. Like the fudge, it's devastating. It's dilapidated. It's like it is. It's a texture. It's like a caramel chocolate. I don't.
I mean, I'll tell you this. Some people really like that fudge. Some people see that that is a really nice gift, you know, when you're pulling out the dessert and you're getting fudge. And the nice thing is you only need like a sliver of it and you have diabetes. So it
I'm
can
gonna say one piece, you've lost a foot. By the way, because you're so Midwest, do I scream Midwest to you, or what? How do you feel towards me? Am I more New Yorker?
No, I feel like I hear it actually in your voice. Like you do have some words that you go like Midwest on. Now, you know, you've been in New York for a while, so obviously, you know, I'm going back to the haircut and the beard. By the way, like this, I think I got to get a haircut. Do you have any thoughts on that? You give advice. What do you think I should do with the hair?
Well, I'm a bald person masquerading as someone with hair because I've had 2 hair transplants. So the fact that you even have hair as long as any sort of main teen character in a mid 90s movie, I'm wildly envious of.
Are you? Hey, your hair looks really good. So
they did a good job. Look at that.
That only took two goes, huh?
Yeah, I mean, one would have done it, but then I wanted more here and I wanted it brought down a little here more. So
first of all, it's cool you got that hair transplant money. That's pretty slick right there.
That was my first paycheck. I said, when I finally make it, I'm getting myself hair, and that I did.
That had to feel great. Did you get people who knew you as like a hair complicated person to give you shit when you got the hair transplant?
Well, I was hair complicated. It should be the name of my book, because I was like, I mean, I have a whole bit about it, like getting the surgery, but essentially, like, you know, when you get a hair transplant, like before, like you'd have to coif your hair, you know, for like 40 minutes to try and make it look like some kind of resemblance of a hairline. And then you have to avoid like rainy days, windy days, pools, you know, like you just don't, like, I was never in a New York, like Sam Morrell, who's my neighbor. He's like, you've never been in a New York sauna? I was like, under no circumstances. And Mark Norman was like, yeah, you're a liar. I was like, no, it was a hair thing. Like if I went in the sauna, like a steam room, it would reveal the secrets. So, you know, to me, but now I could, but it's so funny. I'm like, now I have fear going in a sauna in New York City. Like some old man's going to try and jack me off. But yeah, it's like for a multitude of reasons, I've never been in a sauna. But yeah, so there's like fear around like activities with the hair, like even like riding a bike. So I don't know. Now that I have hair, it's so nice. Like on a windy day, I'm like, do your worst.
That's funny. You don't even think about all those things with the hair, like the biking and the pool and all that, you know?
No, you hair privileged.
Yeah,
people.
I was just going to say, I'm showing my hair privilege here. That's wild. Well, were you like, I think I've seen older pictures of you. You were a hat guy, right?
Here, I'll show you my hair before the surgery. Yes, I was a hat guy. By the way, I will say my accent is still Chicago, but there are some things that are now New York. I've changed how I say some words, and it's kind of shocking.
Well, in the way you said accent, I heard an in the accent, which is great. That makes me feel right at home in this conversation.
So you can see the top of my head, right?
Yeah, it looks great. Yeah.
That was it before.
Oh, wow. Holy smokes.
I know. And then the other part, like you can see like how far back my hair actually went.
Oh, whoa.
So like
What's
like there.
Yeah, you had that deep V going, the widow's peak. Do you
Yeah.
think, like for folks who don't have hair, like my buddy's got the horseshoe going right now, like the George Costanza. Do you feel like that look has merit? Should people like bring that back?
It's I'm going to pull from Joe List. One time I was in Central Park with Joe List, who's a really funny comic. And this guy walked by. I mean, it's hot. It's summer. Everyone's got their shirts off. And this guy walked by and he's wearing like an oversized buttoned up shirt with the khaki pants. He's got glasses and he had this horseshoe hairline and he's pale, right? Hasn't seen the sun. And as he's walking by, Joe List stares at him and looks back at us and goes, "A classic." And I was like, yeah, it's definitely a vintage look. Like you see those things where it's like, why do people look older in the 80s or 90s? Like, 24-year-olds looked like they were 42.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know what that's about.
I feel like that. I think it's, I don't know, social media or whatever, but I feel like people are doing more work stuff, like kind of preventive work. Like people are moisturizing. Botox?
Yeah, I get Botox.
Yeah, Botox, or like just like really like the moisturizer companies out there, man, they got to be making a killing because they'll charge like $50 for a little bottle of something, and you're like, what is this? They're like, it's whale sperm. You're like, the fuck?
Well, because white people didn't get the memo until like 3 years ago that they have to use moisturizer. Like when you get out of the shower, you have to moisturize your body, your neck, your face. Like people were just raw dogging it. And it's like everyone else on earth looked at us like, you fucking morons.
Well, I did not know that until not that many years ago either. I mean, my buddy told me, I remember we were both doing like, I don't know, some kind of news. I was in news before and he's like, yeah, you have to put moisturizer here and here and here. And I was like, or what? And he's like, you're going to get wrinkles. I was like, no one's going to care, and then fast forward. Now I see what he was saying. But so I'm late to the moisturizing game, but sunscreen too.
Yeah, sunscreen's big too. Yeah.
You gotta get that SPF going. Were you a Bears fan? Bringing it back to Chicago.
I mean, I wasn't a sports fan in general, so I don't know anything about it. It's just a world that sort of didn't exist to me. I knew it was there. I didn't care. I mean, my Uncle Mike was a big Bears fan, and my Uncle Mike had the Chicago accent, the like the Bears. But I mean, a bigger in my family than football was the White Sox.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody loved the White Sox. So even though I know nothing about baseball, I don't give two shits. I just inherently hate the Cubs.
That's fantastic. I knew we would find common ground on that. The Cubs, I mean, the White Sox, that's a respectable team,
But right now, my Aunt Cindy calls them the White Sox. Because apparently they're just doing terrible.
They are doing terrible, but I feel like they're like the Cleveland Browns, like if you like them long enough, whether or not they're good or bad, it's almost fun to like a terrible team, like we did it in Wisconsin for a long time. Yeah,
but White Sox fans are the only fans I watch. Like Cubs fans don't like talk bad about the Cubs ever. There's you know what I mean? Like if they're doing poorly, like they still try and find a way to like work around that. White Sox fans are that's also like my family. Like the White Sox fans are the South Side Chicago people. They will just talk shit to the Sox. You fucking suck. You stink. Where the Cubs are like wasted by like the third inning. They don't even know what's going on. Their fucking dilapidated Wrigley Field is falling apart. There's so many Cubs fans getting angry right now. It's hysterical. I don't even know what I'm talking about. But like when you grow up in the north side of Chicago and you have anything White Sox, it's ripped off your lawn, which is also hysterical. It's so funny to me, like Chicago, like these two teams, like Fran Lebowitz said it best. She was arguing with somebody about sports, and she was saying, like, she goes, I don't understand sports. Like people are saying, these are companies. They're companies. She goes, they're not for you. They are for companies. It's like walking on the street saying, thank God Pepsi won today. She's like, they're a company. And I was like, yeah, I totally get that.
It is kind of a weird thing, especially when people talk in the like, we won yesterday, we did amazing. Like, oh, really? Did you? You know, but I will say this for the Packers, we own the team. Like, we are shareholders in the team.
Like the state of Wisconsin?
People in Wisconsin or people anywhere can become a shareholder in the Packers. Every few years, you have an opportunity to become an owner, which means you pay $275 and they send you a piece of paper that says you are an owner. And you can attend shareholder meetings and the whole deal. Once a year, you sit in the hot stadium, Lambeau Field, in the summer, and you can hear what's going on with it. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to brag, but I own an NFL team.
But no one's brought up the fact that the Packers are like another word for saying a top.
You know, funny you should mention that. So that comes from the Acme Packing Company. But you know what? Whatever expands the fan base, you know, frankly, you know, we'll take it. You know,
well, there's no Packers in Manhattan. Everyone's you know, I just remember like the kids who were Packers fans, like in school, like had those giant cheese, like styrofoam cheese
heads.
Yeah, cheese heads on them. Yeah, my friend Matt Menzel, I wonder if he's still doing this. He was obsessed with sports, and his family, I think, was from Wisconsin because the Milwaukee Bucks, I think, were the basketball team. And he would always talk about it, but he was a big Wisconsin fan, so he was always, he would talk about like the Packers and stuff. But sports, I don't give a shit, dude. Who cares? You know, the White Sox, the Cubs, who gives a shit?
Yeah,
I'm sure it's fun, but it, you know, the same way, like, I don't know. I can't think of like another, I guess RuPaul's Drag Race isn't for everybody. It exists. It's a huge show. It's won a million Emmys. I don't think some dad in Wisconsin's like, oh gosh, you know, did Bianca Del Rio come back this year? Like, I don't think that's going to happen.
Oh, that's a good accent. You got that. Yeah, that's really nice. That you got that like SNL Chicago accent from like the Bears kind of thing. You know?
That I'm not kidding you. It was my Uncle Mike. My Uncle Mike literally, we're gonna go down and make some sausage for breakfast, and your Aunt Cindy and my wife. You know, he was so, his accent was he would say sausage instead of sausage. Sausage. He's Irish, South Side Chicago, so the accent always this, that, there. That.
Yeah. They like annihilated the TH from the English language. You know, that I haven't heard anyone do like that kind of like video, that kind of like series or whatever with that accent. You should think about that. That's really
he
good.
would water his driveway. He was obsessed with Buick.
He would water his driveway.
Well, first he had a shitty, he was cheap. They had a shitty ass driveway. So when you were little, like you walk on it, you're like, whoa, you know, like it was so like unbalanced. And then finally they got a new driveway. Oh, he was obsessed with it. I mean, we had to come over and look at the driveway, and you see the driveway, and you look at that over there. And then one time I came home and he was watering it, and they put a fan on it to dry. I walked in the house and I screamed, I said, Uncle Mike, I think Mother Nature will take care of drying the driveway. And then Cindy was like, oh, he's obsessed with that driveway. It's his new girlfriend. And then he would find Buicks. He was obsessed with Buicks because notoriously cheap. And he was like, you know, if you want a car, you got to get a Buick, and these things are great. So at one point they had like 7 cars in their driveway. I don't even know how we accumulated so many cars. And we were eating dinner, and I just hear like driving back and forth, and finally we walk out. He managed to get all of them in the driveway like Tetris. Oh, he was so proud of that driveway. He was like, look at that, I got all them deer stuck on the driveway. Oh,
this guy's awesome. This guy's great.
One time my dad's mom died, and she had this Buick, but she was old, so she had no miles, you know? So literally I go next door to my cousin's house, my Uncle Mike, first thing out of his mouth, I'm very sorry to hear about your grandmother, but who's getting that car? I'm like, well, not you. You're not on the list.
He can wiggle one more in that driveway. I mean, is your Uncle Mike still around?
He's not around anymore. But he was so funny, and he married into this Italian Mexican family. I don't know what he thought he was getting himself into. So like just complete culture shock. Like the family, there's so many of us, and we're always around, and we're always within and it was just like maddening to be around all of us. I don't know how he did fit in really well. Like all the non-Italians or Mexicans who married into my mom's family, he did the best. Like he became best friends with my grandpa, and he was all about like White Sox and sports. And so like he was always helpful. But we just grew up in a family where like we'd be eating dinner, and then the door would open. It's my Uncle Mikey coming. I don't have space in my fridge, so I'm putting the turkey in yours. Okay. Like that's just the kind of family we grew up in.
Yeah. The open door, the open door sort of policy. I mean, I get he doesn't have enough room in his fridge. He's got to save that money for another Buick. That's kind of how that goes. He's watering his driveway. So he's like cleaning off his driveway.
Oh, wants that thing shining. I'll never watching him water the driveway. And I saw the fan. I'm like, you better not put that fan on this driveway. You think that tiny box fan is going to dry the entire driveway? There it was, dry the driveway. Okay, I think the evaporation cycle that I don't know, existed for the past 3.8 billion years on this earth will take care of a quarter of an inch of water you put on this driveway.
Oh my God, I love it. That guy's great, man. What a legend. Plus, he's got all these old Buicks parked out. One of those is leaking oil. I mean, I don't know. I just would love to see what he did to get the oil off.
The first car we had was a Reliant.
Reliant?
Do you know what
no, what the hell is that?
A Reliant is like, it was from the 80s, but it had the cloth ceiling. So
yes.
Those. Yes. So my cousin Megan and I we taught swim lessons on the weekends during school. So she'd pick me up, and the whole ceiling is just falling on you. So we're trying to put
pins. You pin that, put thumbtacks in. That was my first car too. It was a distraction when you're driving. You got to pin that just over time. And then you get a pin drop on the seat. You sit on that. It's a whole process, man. It's an issue.
Yeah,
I love that. I got to let you go soon here, but so you talked about going up to Eagle River and getting crawfish. With the crawfish, were you a good crawfish catcher yourself?
I could catch them, but I wasn't eating them. I still don't like seafood. I know it's not the sea, but certain seafood makes me sick. And so I avoid anything from the ocean. I keep getting sick, and I had a bad reaction one time. So now I have this grudge against anything from water. I'm like, get away from me. But I was good at catching. Yeah, you go wade in the water, stand in the water. You have your net.
Yeah.
And, you could see them swimming and stuff. Yeah.
We would move a rock, and you have someone stand because they swim backwards. So you got to kind of trick them a little bit. You put your hand back there, and then you wiggle your fingers, and they go right into your hand. And then they would pinch the hell out of you. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
But fun times. Would you ever, or have you ever gone ice fishing or deer hunting? And if not, which one would you rather do?
Yes and yes.
Great.
Yeah, my dad hunts, and my dad shoots pheasants and deer, and we went ice fishing. But there's a video of us ice fishing. My dad and Uncle Mike took me and my cousins ice fishing in Galena, Illinois.
Oh, yeah. And beautiful place, by the way.
Love Galena. I love. We have a house there. Like my grandpa bought a house in the 70s. It's like a 2-bedroom, but we've had it for 40 years. So the whole family uses it. And but yeah, there's a video of us. My Uncle Mike filmed everything when we were little with those old camcorder, the ones that look like Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
And, there's a video of us ice fishing, and I'm using my pole as Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. But I never liked hunting. My sister's a big hunter. I don't like guns and killing animals. So
yeah,
I was at home with my mom baking. But I've been hunting, and I've been ice fishing, and I've done fishing, and I've done all that stuff.
Gotcha. So if you were to pick one of them, you go out ice fishing again.
I would do normal fishing.
Okay. Fair enough.
Normal fishing I can get behind, because you're just not really doing anything.
Yeah, you're just chilling, basically. It's a meditation with a pole.
Literally, or an excuse to drink or smoke or whatever.
Exactly.
Hunting, you got to wake. I used to have a joke. You wake up at 4 a.m. Why do you have to wake up so early? It's so the deer don't hear you and get scared away. I'm like, what about the deer on the side of the highway with trucks zooming by? They don't seem so scared. and then you just sit in a fucking tree and then you can't make noise. And I used to joke that I would sing Disney princess music. When the sun came up, my dad's like, keep it down. You're going to scare them away. I'm like, yeah, well, if Disney movies taught me anything, singing that type of music will bring the deer to us. So, I never got hunting,
Well, I don't know. You do have a point with the traffic. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it never does make sense because you go out, you wake up early, and you either don't get anything or you like get something around like noon or whatever. You're like, why didn't I just show up at 11?
Right, and then you got to drag it, and then you got to put it in the car, and then it smells like it. Then my dad would hang it in the garage. And
he was a garage hanger, huh?
Oh my God. It was just, I'm like, yeah, now that I think about it, I'm like, how did, my sister can still do it. I would never.
Yeah, well, if you change your mind, just put up a deer stand. So if you get a wild hair when you're in Milwaukee October 10th?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. You can go to my website, MatteoLaneComedy.com, has all my dates. So it should have it on there.
Awesome. Well, everybody check it out. And if you want to, you just come on up. You let me know if you change your mind between now and then. Can try the show tunes in the deer stand. All right.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it works.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, this was very fun. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And enjoy the show and go see the Bronze Fawns while you're there.
The Bronze Fawns in Milwaukee?
Yeah, right on the River Walk. There's Arthur Fonzarelli.
Like the Fonz from like Happy Days?
The Fonz. He's got a bronze statue on the river in Milwaukee, very close to where you're performing. You walk out the door, go out to the river, take a right. You'll see him, and you can thank me later.
It reminds me of that Bill Burr joke when he was yelling at Philadelphia. He was like, you motherfuckers, your fucking hero is a fake. He's Rocky. He's not even fucking real.
It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. But the Bronze Fonz is very real. And Arthur Fonzarelli is a historically accurate figure. So, you're going to have to take my word for that. I don't have proof, but anyways, this has now turned into a long goodbye, a Midwest goodbye. So you're welcome for that. And enjoy the traffic in New York.
I shall.
All right. We'll see you later.
All right. That is it for this week's episode of the Cripescast. Make sure that you follow Matteo Lane. It is at Matteo Lane at MatteoLane. Simple enough. And if you're in Milwaukee, go see him over at the Pabst Theater downtown, October 10th, 7:30. Tickets, MatteoLaneComedy.com. And finally, folks, follow the Cripescast. We're at Cripescast anywhere you get your podcasts. Okie dokes. All right. Well, we'll see you soon. Everybody keep her moving. And thanks to Colleen Maraca for executive producing this podcast. Thank you to Hannah Milos for editing it. And thanks to all of you for listening. Make sure you watch out for deer. We'll see you next week.
So roll out the barrel and get the band brewing. Life's got you down, just keep her moving. It's on Wisconsin, the Badgers say it's the old Wisconsin Jubilee.
Sometimes when you're ice fishing, you put your foot in the walleye hole and go ass over tea kettle and you think you're done. No, you gotta keep her moving.